The battlefield has changed. The enemy is stronger, and the wars are no longer just outside the nest. In this second chapter of BattleAnts, we uncover 3 hidden wars no one was meant to see. From venomous queens to brainwashed slaves to fire that consumes everything, these are the untold battles. Beneath your feet, welcome back to the front line of insect warfare. Nature is showing us once again that no one can defeat an army of insects. In our today's video, we are going to witness how hundreds of thousands of fire ants take over a whole forest. Before we start, press the like button to motivate us. Also, be sure to stick around until the end to see what happens. You won't regret it. The footage we are about to see comes from Brazil. We can see a beautiful clearing in the middle of the forest. It seems like nothing can disturb the peace of this place. However, that is about to change very soon. At first, only a few ants can be seen slowly approaching the termite mound. This must be some kind of outpost or border territory for the colony, because there is not much food here. And even though the local colony must have known what was coming, they didn't seem to do anything about it. Perhaps they thought that they could hold them back, or perhaps they didn't even know how strong their enemy was. But regardless, this will turn out to be a fatal mistake. Soon enough, tens of ants were seen attacking the termites. These ones are leafcutter ants, and they are known for their incredible strength and aggression. At this point, the termites should have known they were defeated, but instead of retreating into their nest, they tried to fight back. And while it's true that when you fight against an army, there is very little chance for you to win, numbers don't always matter in battles. What really matters is the strategy in choosing the right moment to strike. However, unfortunately for the leafcutter ants, none of these factors are on their side. When more and more ants arrive at the scene, all they can do is keep praying that their colony mates will come in time to save them. Yet they must have lost all hope when they saw how many invaders there were. There is simply no way they would have been able to stand up to such a huge number of enemies. And just like that, the battle begins. Despite being smaller than the other ants, the fire ants are incredibly aggressive and attack everything that moves. For this reason, although the other ants try to flee, they simply can't escape the wrath of their relentless enemies. Fire ants also bite with their sharp jaws, but their biggest danger is their stinger. Once their prey is grabbed by the jaws of the fire ants, the stinger comes into play. Their venom is very powerful and can kill even larger insects almost instantly. And so it was with the other ants. No sooner had they been stung by a fire ant than they collapsed to the ground, completely paralyzed. Now, it's time for the leafcutter ants to act. Although they are much smaller in size, they make up for it with their incredible speed and endurance. Not to mention their stinger is also very powerful and can easily pierce the exoskeleton of any insect. So although it may seem that this battle is already decided, the truth is that it's far from over. However, even if they manage to eliminate some of the fire ants, it will not be enough to defeat them. After all, there are simply too many of them and they don't seem to stop coming. While the other ants try to defend themselves, the fire ants just keep coming and eventually completely surround them. Even if they manage to get away for a while, it will not help them because the fire ants will end up finding them wherever they hide. At this point, the only thing left for the other ants to do is pray that a miracle happens and saves them from certain death. But even then, they probably would use to thank whoever saves them because the fire ants have also attacked them. But who is this savior, who can defeat an entire army of ants? Surely it will be some kind of predator, right? Well, yes, but not just any predator. If you look closely, you'll see that it's a tarsier. This small primate usually feeds on tree sap, fruit, and occasionally small vertebrates. But even he would not be able to resist the temptation of attacking such an easy prey. It looks like the tide is turning in favor of the leafcutter ants, and things couldn't get any better. But this is where the most incredible part of the battle begins. The tarsier has managed to climb on top of the termite mound and is using his tail to smash the ants. Although he does a good job of eliminating a good number of ants, the truth is that there are still too many of them. At this point, it seems that the battle is already finished. But then something strange happens. All the fire ants suddenly stop attacking and begin to move away from the tarsier. What is happening? Has the tarsier done something that the fire ants don't like? Why are they leaving him alone? Perhaps the most shocking part of the story is about to happen. As more and more ants leave the clearing, we can see something that nobody expected. A new anthill is beginning to form right next to the old one. In fact, it seems that the fire ants are building a new home right in front of the previous one. This means that they are not only taking over the territory of the other ants, but also expanding their own. Could it be that the battle is not over yet, and that this is just the beginning? Did the fire ants let the tarsier go to build a new colony somewhere else, or are they planning to attack him again? What is really surprising is that the other ants didn't try to prevent the construction of the new anthill. Normally, when two colonies meet, they engage in fierce battles until one of them is completely eliminated. But in this case, the fire ants haven't shown any aggression towards the other ants. Did the fire ants actually let the terriers live? Or did they do something else? Even more unexpected. As we continue watching, we can see how hundreds of ants work together to move the soil and create the new anthill. These ants are truly incredible, because although they are very small, they possess great strength and endurance. They also demonstrate great intelligence, since they are capable of understanding the importance of having a new colony close to the previous one. This will allow them to have more control over the territory and access to more resources. Finally, after many hours of work, the ants have finished building their new anthill. It is truly amazing to see how fast they were able to build it, considering the amount of work that was required. But now we need to find out what happened to the tarsier. Was he able to escape without any problems, or did the fire ants decide to attack him again? But before we discover what happened, it's important to remember that this video was recorded in Brazil, a country with a large number of ant species. In fact, it is estimated that there are more than 4,000 species of ants in Brazil, which makes it one of the countries with the highest diversity of ants in the world. Some of the most famous species of ants in Brazil include the bullet ant, known for its extremely painful sting, and the army ant, which forms large colonies that can invade entire areas. Also, let us know in the comments if you have ever seen a fire ant invasion. In the rest of the video, we can see that the tarsier has managed to get away safely. He was very lucky, because if the fire ants had attacked him, he probably wouldn't have been able to defend himself. The Tyres decided to look for another tree to feed on, and the fire ants continued building their new colony. This video was a real surprise for everyone who saw it, because it shows how even the most aggressive and dangerous animals can be defeated by a group of insects. It also shows how nature is full of surprises, and that we should never underestimate the power of insects. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to stay up to date with all our content. We have many more videos of nature's wonders for you to enjoy. Thanks for watching. See you next time. This is the most terrifying fire left nothing behind but the scars of destruction. Now, let's go deeper into the colony where the enslaved don't even know they're slaves. Part 2. The slave factory ant colony I've ever seen. This is the most terrifying ant colony I've ever seen. This huge army of red ants just raided a nearby colony and stole all of their pupae. That's right, they're going to take their prisoners back to their own nest, raise them as slaves. And the worst part is, the slaves won't even know that they're serving their enemy. This is going to be an epic story, so make sure to stick around until the end. These ants are known for their incredible strength. And although this colony was much larger than the other one, it didn't stop these ants from raiding their nest. They attack in big groups like this, overwhelming their opponents with sheer numbers. But their attacks aren't limited to other ant colonies. They'll raid anything that gets in their way. Sometimes they even attack each other if they don't get along. They were able to take over this colony without any casualties, which is impressive considering how many there were. But what they did next is even more impressive. You see, when they attack a colony, they don't kill the ants, at least not right away. Instead, they bring their prisoners back to their own nest and put them into one of these tubes. These tubes look like little beds to us, but in reality, they're cells where the ants keep their prisoners. It's here where they wait for the queen to lay her eggs. You might be wondering why they do this instead of just killing the ants right away. Well, when they hatch, these baby ants will need food, and the first thing they find will be their fellow prisoners. So by the time they're ready to leave the cell, they've already killed and eaten all of their nestmates. This means they're free to use the labor of these ants without having to worry about being attacked. But how do they control these slaves? Well, it's pretty simple. They just put them to work. As soon as they leave the cell, they have to start working on the nest, collecting food and taking care of their captors. If they try to run away, the worker ants can easily catch up to them and bring them back to the nest. But that doesn't mean the slaves don't try. It's actually quite common to see ants escaping their captors. It usually ends badly for them though, because the workers can just pick them up and carry them back to the nest. Sometimes the slaves manage to break free, but the workers are always ready for them. When they do this, the slaves are doomed. The workers are bigger and stronger than the slaves, so they can easily defeat them. But even if they manage to kill some of the workers, the queen will just lay more eggs, and they'll be back to square one. It must be terrible to be a slave, but at least these ants don't eat their prisoners right away. In fact, they feed them. Well, that is if they can catch food. For some reason, these ants have built a huge barrier around their nest. I don't know why they did this. Maybe it's to protect themselves from predators, or maybe it's to keep their slaves in. Either way, it's making it really hard for them to get food. The ants inside the nest are starting to starve. Some of them are even eating each other. I'm not sure if this is intentional or not, but either way, it's not good for the colony. If they can't get food, they'll eventually die. And if that happens, the slaves will be free. But that might take a while yet. Meanwhile, the army ants are getting restless. They're starting to bite each other and fight each other. It seems like they're trying to provoke each other to fight, but it's not working. The army ants are too focused on surviving to fight each other. This means the slaves are safe for now, but it won't last forever. These ants are super strong, so even if the slaves manage to kill some of them, they won't be able to stop the others. This colony has been raided before, but it wasn't this bad. I wonder if it's always like this. Maybe these ants have just gotten more aggressive, or maybe it's because they're starving. Whatever the reason, things are not looking good for the slaves. Now, there's only one thing they can hope for, and that's for the army ants to go away. But that might not happen anytime soon. I'm not sure how long this colony has been under siege, but it's definitely more than a few days. Some of the ants are starting to get sick and die. The ones that are still alive are too weak to do anything. It looks like the end is near for these poor ants. Just when you think it can't get any worse, it does. The army ants are starting to eat their prisoners. This must be torture for the slaves. They're being eaten alive by the very ants they thought they could escape. It's sad to see them like this, but it's also kind of fascinating. You can see the fear in their eyes. They know what's happening, and they know they can't do anything about it. The army ants are too strong and too many of them. It's not just the slaves that are suffering though. The army ants are also starting to die. It looks like they're running out of food. Even though they're eating the slaves, it's not enough to keep them alive. Things are getting really ugly. Now, the ants are biting each other and killing each other. It looks like the entire colony is going to die. But there's still one thing I want to see. Will the slaves try to fight back? And if they do, will it be too late? For some reason, the ants stopped attacking each other and started marching in circles. Maybe they're trying to find a new nest. Whatever the reason, it's given the slaves a chance to regroup. Finally, some of the ants are starting to fight back. They're biting the army ants and trying to pull them away from their food. It's not much, but it's something. After a while, the army ants grow tired of the fighting and they march away from the nest. This gives the slaves a chance to escape, but it's not that easy. Many of them are injured and can't move fast. Others have lost limbs and can't walk at all. The ants that can move quickly escape, but the others are left behind. It's sad to see them like this, but it's also kind of inspiring. Even though they're hurt and scared, they're still trying to get away. The ants that escaped are lucky. They made it out of the nest just in time. If they had waited any longer, the army ants would have caught them. This colony is a mess, but it's still alive. The army ants may have taken over, but they didn't completely destroy the colony. This means the ants can rebuild and start over. It's going to be a long and hard road to recovery, but it's possible. This was a very close call for these ants. If the army ants had been a little more aggressive, they would have killed all of them. But sometimes things don't go the way you expect them to. These ants took over this colony and enslaved the ants. But in the end, it was the slaves who destroyed their masters. That's right, sometimes the underdog wins. A colony built on lies will eventually fall. But what if the greatest lie is the queen herself? Part 3. The Venom Queen in the Animal Kingdom. There are more than 12,000 known species of ants and they're extremely diverse in size, shape, color, and behavior. But there's one thing that all of them have in common, and that is an inherent desire to do whatever their queen tells them to do. The workers sacrifice everything for their queen, their lives, their time, and energy, because without her, the colony would collapse. And so, when a new queen arrives, things can get bloody. If a male ant finds a queen that's laying eggs, he will inseminate her, after which he will die. Then she will start her own colony or take over an existing one. This is called a hostile takeover, and it's exactly what happens in today's story. A parasitic queen sneaks into a colony of ants and kills the native queen, taking her place. But there's a twist at the end that you won't want to miss. It all starts with this leafcutter ant carrying a small object in its mouth. It looks like a tiny cube, and it makes up the majority of the length of the body of the ant. But when it drops the item off and returns to pick more up, we see what it really is. It's a tiny baby ant, one that was taken from another nest and has been living in this one for 2 weeks. For the last 14 days, she's been learning the ways of the colony, memorizing the layout of the underground network of tunnels, where food is stored, where the brood is kept, and most importantly, where the queen is located. Today is the day she will put that knowledge to use. She leaves the foraging trail and heads straight for the center of the colony. She crawls under a rock where she knows the queen must be laying eggs. She bites her abdomen, pulls her legs out to impale her, then releases a venom that will kill her quickly. With the queen dead, she runs to the nursery and lays her eggs. Using pheromones, she signals to the workers that she is also their queen, and that they should take care of her young. They do so without hesitation, not realizing that they have just killed their real queen and replaced her with an imposter. Over the next few weeks, the fake queen's eggs hatch into males and females. The males mate with the virgin females, who then mate with other males, storing their genetic material for later. Once they're pregnant, the males dig holes out of the nest and fly off to find a new colony to infiltrate, while the females stay behind to take over. Using more pheromones, the new queen controls the workers and tells them to bring her food and watch over her eggs. They do so without a second thought, completely unaware that they've just replaced their queen and are now raising an army of future traitors. As the eggs hatch and the colony grows, the imposter queen watches over her children, waiting for the day when they'll take over other nests. But one worker notices something strange about her. He's seen her before, but he can't quite put his finger on it. Something about her smell is different. Her movements, too. He tries to shake it off, but it keeps coming back. And the more he thinks about it, the more he realizes that the entire colony is in danger. The queen isn't just any ant, she's a fire ant queen, and her children are slowly growing up to be warriors. Fire ants are known for being incredibly aggressive and territorial, and they will attack anyone or anything that invades their space. They're also highly venomous, and their sting is excruciatingly painful. So as the workers get ready to defend their colony against the invaders, they have no idea that they're actually preparing to protect the very people who will betray them. The first sign of trouble is when the scouting ants return from the border. They're carrying dead bodies in their mouths, bodies that look like the ants of neighboring colonies. That means war has been declared, and soon the entire colony will be fighting for their lives. But there's one worker that doesn't want to go to war. He knows that something isn't right, even if he can't quite figure out what it is. And so he does something that no ant has ever done before, something that will change the course of history forever. He runs to the queen and tries to warn her, but she ignores him. All she cares about is protecting her eggs and growing her colony. So he tries to bite her, but she dodges his mandibles and stings him with her stinger. The venom courses through his body, burning like hot lava, and he falls to the ground, defeated. Just as he's about to lose consciousness, he sees something that makes him sit back up. The queen isn't just any ant. She's a fire ant queen, and her children are slowly growing up to be warriors. He had seen this before, but he couldn't remember where. Then it hits him. This is the same queen that killed his queen and took over his colony. Now she's doing the same thing again, only this time she's using her children as pawns. He had stopped her once before, but he didn't realize it. Now his colony is dead, and he's the only survivor. But he still has a chance to make things right. He can stop her from killing anyone else, from taking over any more colonies. So he gets up and runs to the entrance of the nest. He crawls through the tunnel and emerges outside. The battle is raging, but he doesn't care. He has to get to the queen. He climbs up a blade of grass and jumps onto the back of a nearby leafcutter ant. The warrior tries to shake him off, but he holds on tight. He bites the ant's leg and stabs it with his stinger. The warrior screams in pain and falls to the ground. The worker jumps off his back and runs to the nearest fire ant. He bites it and stabs it with his stinger. The fire ant falls to the ground, burning to death. He continues on, not stopping until he reaches the queen. He bites her and stabs her with his stinger. She screams in pain and falls to the ground. Her children surround him, but he doesn't care. He keeps stabbing them with his stinger, killing them all. Finally, she dies, and he collapses next to her. His body is covered in the blood of her children, and he can feel his life force draining away. But he doesn't care. He's done what he had to do. He saved his colony, and that's all that matters. And that's the end of today's story. But if you want to hear more stories like this, then be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any new episodes. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Insects don't just fight, they deceive, they manipulate, they conquer. And beneath the surface there's always another war waiting. Subscribe to BattleAnts now, because next time, the colony may fall before it even knows it's at war.